Hello, everyone, and welcome to NetElixir's webinar, Recapping Google Marketing Live. Thank you for finding time to join today. We have a great presentation today, starting off with talking a little bit about NetElixir and then going into a peek into the future of Google marketing, key announcements and implications for advertisers, and ending with NetElixir's future-ready commitment to our customers. I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Sana Habib, and I am a Sales and Marketing Coordinator here at NetElixir, where we help e-commerce brands find and engage high-value customers and acquire game-changing insights. On the next slide, I'm happy to highlight our amazing partnerships with UPS, Google, Microsoft, and Meva, as well as our clients ranging from fashion to pet supplies. As you may know, after 3 years, Google hosted their annual Google Marketing Live in-person event. Our CEO and founder, Udain Bose, has just returned from San Francisco after attending this event and is ready to share his key takeaways and insights to bring your business to the forefront of digital transformation. Udain is an Innovation Fellow at the Columbia Business School and a guest lecturer at Cornell University, Baruch, and the Indian School of Business. Before I hand it over to Udain, if you have any questions, please use the Q&A button in the Zoom meeting to submit your questions, and we may answer at the end of the session. Thank you, and Udain, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Sana, for the kind introduction. Hello, everyone. I mean, this webinar has become almost like an annual custom since the Google Marketing Live started. I still remember the last one that we had in person, which was in 2019, and it was quite an amazing experience. The number of people, the number of attendees in that one was probably 5 to 7 times more than this time. So understandably, it was a more intimate event. And I believe Google had invited just the top, maybe around 500 to 700 advertisers and the top agencies from the Americas to this event. But I was very privileged to get an invitation to this event. And it was just a fun experience that we had. I would probably not really have a difficulty in saying that this event can actually go down in history as one of those pivotal moments when Google really made a very strong message or a call out to everyone in the marketing community or digital marketing community, a call out to reimagine how search would be moving forward. And they started by sharing some customer trends based on which they were making this transition or the shift to a very different SERP or a search engine results page experience. And the trends were, one was something called research reflex. So essentially, I think the idea behind research reflex is searchers no longer really just type in the words to find something out. They can actually speak literally to their phones and to find something, or they can actually sort of visually sort of find something as well. So search has become a lot more not just keyword based, but also visual, and understandably a lot more auditory or a lot more voice activated as well. And along with that, there is another trend which has become extremely prominent, and that is the trend of omni buyers. So slowly, I think the gap or the line between searching, shopping, and buying is really blending together. So people can have those moments that really inspire them to make a purchase almost instantaneously, right? So there is a very clear connection that Google was able to spot or identify. And last but not the least, there is this component of a visual idea showcase. So think of search page more as a visual ideation overall medium, rather than essentially a bunch of text ads which are sort of lined in there, right? Which obviously also leads to, which I'll sort of get into later in my presentation today, essentially is the concept of monetizing much of the SERP. That's also linked to that entire concept of a visual idea showcase. And last but not the least, it is also being led by an explosive increase in visual and video search. So if there were 2 top themes in this entire session, the first one, the first one definitely has to be around videos and the focus that Google had through the entire session or the entire event on the importance of YouTube and YouTube Shorts. The second one was obviously on privacy and the steps that Google is taking to preserve and really take the entire privacy conversation to a different level. So these were the two key points of discussion. Now, in terms of announcements, I have tried to classify today's presentation based on these three themes that Google had for this year's Google Marketing Live. Jerry, who's the head of Google Ad Products, effectively, he started by presenting these themes. The first one is, it is time for us to really reimagine how the search engine results page looks like and how does, as a result of which, Google Ads look like. The second one was, without really losing focus on driving results in a manner which is meaningful for businesses. And last but not the least, really building in through the entire process and tremendous focus on individual privacy and really building a business which is resilient. So I'll start with the first part, which is more of a reimagine. So Google made three big announcements. There were other announcements as well, but the three big that we selected for today's presentation, the first one was YouTube Shorts with video action and app campaigns. The second one was Google Audiences for connected TV. And the third one was YouTube Feed on Discover. Now, those of you who are heavily advertising on YouTube probably already know all of these. But just to simplify it for those who may not really be as familiar with the YouTube advertising. So YouTube Shorts is YouTube's answer to TikTok ads, right? Short, snappy ads. That's where the YouTube Shorts is in very simple part. Right. So there is very clearly an idea of monetizing these YouTube Shorts by bringing in those text ads there as well as creating a direct connect with the overall apps also. The second one was a trend which has been visible for quite some time. YouTube has been taking market share from connected TV, or basically from linear TV essentially. So what Google is trying to do is now blend together the Google Audiences even for connected TV. And this would be available both on display as well as Google 360. And last but not the least, Discover is a feed which is more of a simple way of understanding Discover is something that really allows us to really swipe through and really check out the different options and discover as to what really interests us. And now YouTube Feed would be directly integrated with Discover ads as well. So these were the three biggest announcements in this particular category. I'll try to share as to what our point of view essentially on this thing. I mean, as we have seen, and I think it has been reported by eMarketer as well, I believe in their March 2022 report, which I have mentioned earlier, is TikTok is very clearly eating into YouTube's dominance, right? So YouTube, once the 800-pound gorilla, is increasingly fighting to really maintain its turf and really keep its most popular creators from going elsewhere. And that's, I think, where there is a very clear renewed focus on beefing up all the efforts around YouTube. Now, given the amount of emphasis that I heard firsthand at the event, YouTube is going to be something which I would probably sort of rate it as one of the top two most important, and I'll sort of get to the second one shortly as well, the top two, the most important announcements and the directions which Google will be pursuing moving forward. And YouTube Shorts is its way of really trying to combat the TikTok battle. Now, one of the points which I really wanted to emphasize is I think the entire competition is not really getting fought only on TikTok and YouTube as a channel. The competition essentially is happening at the creator level. And of late, there has been some migration of YouTube creators who have moved from YouTube to going ahead and moving to TikTok. And YouTube definitely doesn't like that, and they really want to prevent that. So that's where I think there is going to be a lot of building around this creator, the authentic creator community, and creating on the authentic content as such. The second announcement or the second point of view that we had was, as we know, the digital video ad spending will surpass linear TV ad spends this year. And by 2026, the CTV ad spend will account for 10% of total digital advertising spend. Right now, these are big numbers, and understandably, Google has been tracking it very clearly. And at this point in time, they feel given the market dominance of YouTube, they can really directly take on linear TV. And that's what they are trying to do by really going ahead and integrating those audiences with YouTube or connected TV. So that's, I think, a huge move. Again, for both of this part as to what should you as an advertiser take away from this. YouTube so far has been a channel which many of the so-called performance marketers have really stayed away from. But at this point in time, I don't think you have that option available. At this point in time, I think your brand has to be visible on YouTube, and your story has to be told in a creative as well as an authentic way, your way, essentially, to the viewers. And the last but not the least on the entire thing is there has been a very conscious attempt on Google's side to lower the friction between inspiration, engagement, and purchase. And they have really launched quite a few initiatives which blends together directly getting the shopping feed on YouTube. Your YouTube Shorts, I think, is a big part of this. YouTube Actions is a big part of this. They are trying to bridge this gap between inspiration, where people see a video, feel excited about a particular product. They are giving them an opportunity to buy it right there and then. And more on that later as I proceed on this presentation. Now, purely in terms of strategy, and I don't claim by any means to be a strategy guru by a farthest stretch of imagination, but I couldn't help but really referring back to this classic model on marketing warfare from the gurus Jack Trout and Al Ries. And this is probably about 40 years old, but this model is still equally effective these days. So what Google is using to combat really the TikTok challenge is a combination of the defensive warfare, and at the same time, I feel it is really taking the advantage to a different level by really focusing on the other pieces of the offensive warfare as well. If you really look at it, I mean, they are obviously cannibalizing themselves with new ideas. So theoretically, there can be a point that you can say that wouldn't YouTube Shorts cannibalize YouTube? Probably it will, but overall it still grows the markets. But what it does, it definitely blocks TikTok's moves. And why I am sort of pretty bullish on the offensive part as well, they are launching new initiatives as well. So through an effort to really connect and get the CTV part and really take market share of the advertising market share from essentially the linear TV as well, they are really trying to flank out essentially the competition and really trying to approach it from a different perspective as well. It's almost like a classic leader trying to consolidate its own position, but at the same time stepping a little outside of the regular sort of monetizable zone and try to really form those associations, in this case with CTV, to really go ahead and create a bigger space to operate for itself as well. I would rate, again, I would be sort of rating all of these pieces, but for this section, I would go ahead and have no qualms in rating Google at least 9 out of 10, purely in terms of the initiative that they are launching on YouTube. And purely as an analyst in this space, I remain extremely confident that with these steps, Google is well poised into taking YouTube to a very different level as well, and the engagement level of YouTube. For the advertisers, as I mentioned earlier as well, I don't think there is an option at this point in time that you have. You really have to come up with a YouTube strategy, and you really have to discuss with your agency partners or your creative marketing agencies as to what exactly is your YouTube strategy and how exactly can you really build that into their entire full funnel marketing. The second part, and talking about full funnel, I really make a transition onto the second segment, which is the results part. Now, Performance Max is Google's way to really shift or transition the Google advertising and get it ready for the cookieless world. Now, talking about the cookieless world, as some of you, I'm pretty sure, know that overall the third-party cookies would deprecate on Chrome. So effectively, Chrome browser would be blocking out the third-party cookies, and which really has, since inception, become the fundamental infrastructure on which the entire digital marketing world has been based, right? So understandably, a lot of the information which Google gets now because of the third-party cookies would no longer be available. So Performance Max, we believe, uses AI to really go ahead and just trying to build that funnel across the different Google assets. And that, in at least my opinion, is the future of Google Ads. Now, as I was discussing with a lot of executives there at the event, understandably, Performance Max for many of the advertisers started off on a pretty slow note because Performance Max includes a combination of the smart shopping, includes the overall local ads, and it also includes the YouTube ads as well. So it's a combination of all of this and Discover ads also. Now, in many cases, I think people were struggling to justify the overall return on investment. The performance is plummeted, the overall revenue sort of crashed, and all sorts of things. But as people have really settled in I think Google team has been working very constantly with all the advertisers to get Performance Max work. We have also, after the initial learning curve, our team has been able to also, for our clients, been able to build out an entire model or a framework which allows for a much more seamless transition onto the Performance Max campaigns. Now, again, as I think it is very clear, Performance Max, for example, smart shopping would be entirely rolled into Performance Max by the holiday season, right? Most likely before the holiday season starts. So if any one of you still has not really ventured into Performance Max or not really getting results per your expectation for Performance Max, feel free to give us a shout out. I mean, very, very clearly, sort of, you can reach out to us and our team will be more than happy to share with you very specific frameworks that we have really used for tremendous success. But do whatever it is, I think one of the things that you can really take absolutely guaranteed, for a lack of a better word, is that Performance Max is the direction that Google is going into. They launched some initiatives, many initiatives around Performance Max. A few of them, which I feel were very important, they have brought in the in-store to an extent expected because they already had brought in the local ads to this. The burst campaigns are interesting. So you can really have time-bound, very specific goal-focused campaigns around the holiday season. I think it can be a fantastic tool. They also have launched A/B testing tools for incremental conversion measurement. So again, throughout the entire event, the theme was very clearly focus on building a culture of experimentation. And I think with Performance Max and the A/B testing tools, that's the direction that they are moving towards as well. They are bringing the optimization score, or the Opti score as it is called, to Performance Max. It's interesting because the entire concept of Opti score as it applies on Performance Max changes, because when you really do Opti score on the conventional search advertising, as you know, you can really tweak on different things, try to get to this thing. In this case, all that you can really control is essentially the input that you are sort of sending in. And are you really able to build out that framework as a result of multiple tests and experiments, which really helps you get the desired result, right? So you really have a control on the input and the framework that you really build in to run and operate these Performance Max campaigns. Now, that's very different from a stronger control on, let us say, keywords, keyword ads, and all that stuff. So Google is obviously taking away, or has taken away, that granularity in terms of management and control. And understandably, many of the marketers and advertisers are not really liking that. But at the same time, my request would be, for a moment, if you just look at it from a slightly different perspective, does this give an opportunity for you to really excel on a creative basis? Right? Does this give an opportunity for you to think more creatively, identify pockets of opportunity that you may not really have tapped in because you were like so focused on execution? I think it does. I think, and we have seen some tremendous results at NetElixir working with our clients, where Performance Max not only has increased the overall revenue. I think Google gave an example of 13% increase in revenue, but I shared with the Google team, the quality of customers that we are able to acquire through Performance Max is dramatically different and superior in terms of higher value customer through a combination of the right tools, which is feeding in the right quality of data, doing the right experimentations, which leads to creating a framework and making performance campaigns work. So Performance Max is something that I would definitely sort of put as a key priority, and that would be, in my opinion, the future of Google Ads. The second one is an automatically created assets for responsive search ads. Well, Google already had that. The entire RSA concept is based on this. What it has done this time, it has really taken it to the next level, and something that I really want all of you to sort of pay close notice on. They will be able to automatically create ad assets for you based on the content that shows up on your landing page and the existing ads. Very important, right? Let me repeat that again. They will automatically create assets for you based on content from your landing pages. How many times do we see companies really coming up with a landing page which really has subpar content, subpar design? At this point in time, Google is almost like forcing you to pay a lot more attention on ensuring that your landing pages are basically fine-tuned. Because if it automatically is pulling information, creating those ad assets, you don't really want it to be a wrong representation of what your brand stands for, right? It's a great opportunity, as I mentioned, to ramp up your storytelling efforts and really feed good quality data to Google's AI. And again, an extremely, extremely important step. Talking about step, one of the most fundamental, may seem like a small change, but in our opinion is a massive change. is upload and organize the creative assets in Google Ad Library. And Google can again use AI to automatically create a new video, or you can create a new video from the assets available in the library within 60 seconds or less. Just think of it, imagine, right? The power of AI. That probably gives you an understanding as to how powerful the AI is. Now, the important part here is the upload and organize the creative assets. So managing that creative library is extremely important. Again, I get back. Very specifically, I've seen in many cases, advertisers go ahead with creatives which are not fresh. They use creatives which probably are dated. They are not really creative as such, right? So this is an opportunity to really have a stronger handle on the creative assets. Now, through this during the Google Marketing Live, I had this unique opportunity, or almost like a privilege, to listen to one of my favorite storytellers of all time, Malcolm Gladwell. And one of the things which Malcolm Gladwell essentially emphasized, his entire theme was, how can you really create those shareable stories? So his entire challenge to the marketing community was, can we create stories which are worth sharing? How much time do you really invest in terms of creativity and understanding and creating those stories is what I think it's extremely important. And I believe this is an opportunity because all of your assets are there, right? There is no reason why you should really go ahead with a creative that doesn't really make you feel proud of it. Right. And those are the ways where I think a marketing partner or an agency partner, let us say like NetElixir, can provide tremendous help because our content and design teams can really collaborate clearly with you. We can literally be co-managing your Google Ad Library for you as well. So our team detects proactively, this is the time your sort of creatives needs are fresh. Why don't we start brainstorming the ideas, right? We have your promotional calendar already ready, right? So we should, as an agency, give you ideas that this is what you should probably be thinking of, sort of building and thinking creatively in terms of creative execution. Now, if you have an in-house team, go about doing that yourself. Or if you really want help from expert designers and content writers, we can help you. So that's, I think, one of the pieces which I believe can really take it to a different level. And I'm really excited with the prospect of substantially superior creatives coming out from the brands moving forward. And last but not the least, a big one, the Google Analytics 4, which is becoming a mandate. And Google has already announced that by the 1st of July 2023, all the other forms of UA or Universal Analytics, including the latest version, Universal Analytics 3, would all be sunset. So GA4 would be the only analytics module which Google has, only analytics module. They added a few important points to that, uncovered new pockets of consumer demand with attribution insights, budget insights, and audience insights as well. Now, this is where I can't really emphasize enough the importance of having GA4 implemented today, literally today, primarily because GA4 is the way that Google is trying to create almost like a backbone for its entire system, right? It is a way for Google to really bridge the gap at the point in time when the third-party cookie deprecation really happens. And it can really utilize the amount of data, and the machine learning can really work on the data to bridge the gap between what you are really tracking and measuring and what essentially is happening on your website. And the quicker you are having those GA4 implemented and starting to activate all the features of GA4, the better it is for your business, because you get a lot more insights, a lot more information, a lot more data based on which you can really take action on as well. So those are, I think, the four important ones. All of them focus on results, but results, as we have seen, in a very different way, right? Results, if you really look at it, the first 2 or 3 essentially talk about the application of AI, as Google is talking, which is the new world. And so actually all of the 4 of them actually have AI sort of built into it. And last but not the least, it very clearly shows that rather than focusing on execution, rather than focusing on just execution and doing manual work, which AI can take care of that, they are encouraging you to focus on identifying those, almost like those gaps, those white spaces that you can really operate through a strategic shift in your mindset, which can lead to a tremendous and huge explosion, or more than an explosive increase in your market share and the overall business that you are able to grow. Some of the comments, I think, also purely from the other perspective, really looking at it from a step back. I think the third-party cookie deprecation, I had sort of written about it in a recently published article in Media Post as well, that third-party cookie deprecation actually allows Google to form its own walled garden. and really transition advertisers from the bottom of the funnel, focus only on those text ads and shopping ads, to full funnel marketing. So you are not really left with any longer an option whether you should advertise on YouTube or Discover. That's not really an option at all. Performance Max takes care of that. And that's Google's full funnel marketing solution for the cookieless future. Now, PMax connects almost every aspect of paid search, right? It's essentially, again, per Google's VP of products, Google Ad Products, Vidya, I think she was the one who sort of mentioned this. It uses machine learning to help advertisers connect with the right audience through the right channels with the right creative at the right time. And that's how the power of AI that is being used in PMax really does. The last part, I believe it's firmly an attempt to Google to really build out and quell advertiser anxiety, because when you suddenly can no longer really make those manual tweaks, understandably, there is a perceived sense, oh gosh, what am I even doing, right? There is a perceived sense of powerlessness almost that you really sort of just are consumed with. So insights and explanation page helps you understand why Performance Max campaigns have taken a certain step and why is this happening. And that combined with that A/B testing solution really helps you to figure out a way which really helps you slowly make, I would actually contend, more of a mind shift or a way you really approach, or your entire paid search philosophy shift from the world of the old redundant now keyword search onto the new world of AI-driven marketing of performance search as such. On the other result-focused announcement, GA4 is Google's analytics solutions for the cookieless world, and period, right? If PMax is about full funnel marketing, GA4 is quite literally the backbone of everything of Google Ads. And Google also announced a very important step. One Google tag is a step in this direction. And with one Google tag, one of the things that I'm very happy about, probably we'll sort of finally see the discrepancy vanish between the numbers which are getting tracked and reported in Google Analytics versus Google Ads. That discrepancy should go off. They are also moving really to a situation of a no code future as well, where it just making it very simple through one Google tag, I think is a fantastic and a very progressive step made by Google or announced by Google in that direction. And while I appreciate Google's attempt towards making the entire ad creation experience easy, the RSA asset also auto creation, it really puts the onus, as I mentioned earlier as well, on marketers to improve the quality of creative assets. I think they are giving you more space and time to really think and work with partners to really beef up your creative assets which really are able to tell your stories which are worth sharing, as well as landing pages as well. Moving on, I know I'm sort of running already a little late, but I'll just quickly sort of go through it. The next part is resilience, which is more on the focus on the privacy. So for example, the ability to run search and conversion lift tests directly on Google Ads and display and video 360 was pretty powerful. We'll be able to measure incremental conversions based on geo and users conversion lift test. Our team is super happy, primarily because we'll be able to really make advertising that much more granular and geo focused, which will really help substantially. And the last but not the least may seem like a simple line, but it is a very powerful line. They are also allowing the measurement of organic searches on Google and YouTube being driven by YouTube search ads. Very important. This is the first time, and we have sort of participated and lucky enough to really be invited for in-person participation in all the GMLs that have happened so far. This is the first time I'm hearing organic search being brought in. Again, if you really look back to that strategy grid that I shared with you, this is a clear example where the market leader is trying to think outside of the box. And they're just trying to sort of flank through a different approach and really come up with now bringing in what I believe is the most powerful tool in Google's arsenal is the organic search. Now that what it does, it really just that one line elevates the importance and the criticality of SEO for every business, maybe 1,000 times, right? So those are the sort of lines that I think it's important to read between the lines and the sort of meaning of it. And that was, I think, one of those most powerful lines which came up. Simple tagging with Google One Tag, I've already talked about. I'll not really delve any further. The third one is important, right? So we have had this ongoing struggle, right? Many of the specifically the retail marketers, they have a challenge moving to a data-driven attribution model, right? Now, in this case, there are two announcements. One, data-driven attribution would be the default, because understandably, the last click would not be as effective once we really move on to a first-party cookie world. But more importantly, data-driven attribution without any conversion limit as well. That would be important, right? So it is that one announcement is so powerful because it suddenly becomes the DDA onto the smaller advertisers as well, which may not really have enough data and enough number of conversions to justify that as well. So that is the power of AI. I think Google is extending and really sort of using some sort of a predictive capability that they have seen and just trying to anticipate, and then they sort of figure out from their perspective. But that was a very important and interesting announcement as well. Other thing which I think is worth a mention is enhanced conversions and 1P data through the integrations with customer data platforms and CRMs. Like, for example, Google has already built in an integration with HubSpot, which was talked about there. They have also built in integrations with Shopify, BigCommerce, and WooCommerce as well. So those are, I think, all very powerful things to really keep a tab on. Privacy was a big theme. I think one of the areas which Google really got it absolutely spot on is their narrative of privacy, because they mentioned that I think privacy is number one. So as I mentioned, the first theme very clearly was videos, and the focus on the first focus was video and the YouTube. At the same vein, probably at a higher level, maybe the focus was as much on privacy through this entire process, or the entire event as well. So privacy-safe options for interest-based advertising and remarketing, incorporating signals from Privacy Sandbox is going to be big also, right? So that getting the privacy narrative right was very important. And last but not the least, Google also is introducing something called a feature called the My Ad Center, which really allows people to control their privacy and online experiences as well. Quick thoughts. Now, privacy was a key theme throughout the event, as I mentioned, right? They have gotten that privacy narrative right. They have been able to separate privacy and personalization, right? Often it has been all meshed together, which has sort of led to a lot of challenges, problems, and so on. I think this time they got the narrative right, that they don't really have to be the same by any means. And how exactly is Google going to do that is what there was a lot of conversation on. It was also obviously featured backed by a lot of features that they, for example, providing the end user greater control, like My Ad Center, and which essentially they are talking about consented data. I have really given you consent to access this data. They had a constant emphasis on creating a culture of testing and experimentation, which very clearly shows that not everything would be as trackable and measurable. You really have to make those extrapolations and for your business and really build that strong culture of experimentation. And also the application of machine learning to bridge the gap that will be created after the third-party cookie deprecates as well. So use of signals from the Privacy Sandbox for interest-based advertising and remarketing was important as well. Lastly, I just want to touch upon this. I know I'm already running late. I had cautioned all of you on the commerce part of Google. So there were a lot of very interesting announcements, all directed towards this one store. But I feel that this line by Bill Reddy, who's their president of commerce, was very important. The observation that maybe it's more of a pandemic trend which really has emerged that strongly, that browsing time has really blended with the shopping time. So that particular insight or a consumer trend has been responsible for all these new announcements. The first one is a one-store Google experience. A very powerful announcement, one-click activation of shopping ads through integrations with Shopify, BigCommerce, and WooCommerce. So you click on a Google ad, it directly can take you directly to the shopping cart with that particular product that you have really clicked on at Google, directly added to the shopping cart in Shopify. Think of as to how powerful that entire process is, right? So by clicking on it, it will not take you to a landing page or a product page or home page. It will just take you to the specific page as such, which is actually the shopping cart with the product added in. Very, very powerful. It cuts down at least about 2 clicks and understandable a lot of friction as well. The second one is window shop on Google. I think there was a big focus on bringing AR now, the visual look and feel. Again, very clearly in terms of like people really want that visual experience. Product feed in YouTube and by the YouTube shorts as such. So blending in and really trying to really bridge the gap between inspiration and action in terms of shopping actions. A very important announcement showcasing the loyalty benefits on merchant listings. So, and winning new loyalty members through Performance Max and first-party data as well, the loyalty member data. And last but not the least, very important announcement again, very, very important announcement. Shopping ads and organic listings are going to be blended in, and they are going to really exist, or there would be certain instances where they would exist together. Again, a massive, massive shout out to the importance of organic listings. SEO can no longer be ignored. You really have to get your SEO right. for really providing that seamless experience to the customer or the searcher who are searching for your business. So some of the quick comments. I think Google is very clearly continues to make its attempt to make the search engine results page as much shoppable as possible, right? The shopping feed integration with YouTube Shorts. YouTube has 30 billion plus monthly views, right? I mean, that's huge. And the use of AR to make it the look and feel, the touch and feel almost strong and vivid really goes to the point that they are really taking it seriously, the entire search shoppable. As I mentioned, they are trying to lower the friction between inspiration and action. And two product announcements that I would count among the event highlights. One is blending shopping ads with organic listings coming soon, and allowing the merchants to showcase their loyalty programs. Now, needless to mention, it's just pretty straightforward and no-brainer that this requires the merchants to have a well-optimized organic listing for a positive browse, window shop, buy experience. And the second one is the addition of loyalty member benefits is definitely going to give an advantage to the merchants with attractive loyalty programs. Is it Google's way of saying that to really succeed in the first-party data world, every merchant or every retailer needs to seriously think about having a loyalty program of their own? So I'll just leave you with that. These are all important announcements, but just to conclude as to what I was through the entire thing, the era of multi-search is there, right? The multi-device, multi-platform, multi-format, visually inspiring, often shoppable and connected. Paid search has changed forever. From competing on keywords, you are essentially competing on audiences and competing on the quality of the full funnel that you are able to build. The future of search marketing is going to be driven by the quality of first-party data that advertisers are able to feed into the Google's AI algorithms. And a big hat tip to the Google's team for orchestrating a seamless transition, which I feel started at GML 2019 and has now entered phase 2 with GML 2022, a phase where advertisers' success is going to be driven by their ability to embrace full funnel marketing, AI-driven multi-search, and building a culture of continuous testing and experimentation, and doing all of these and more in a privacy-first and a privacy-safe manner. So with that, let me share with you one of the initiatives that I am very proud to announce today from the NetElixir team. It's more of a NetElixir's commitment towards a future-ready world or advertising world for all of the NetElixir customers. Your account teams will work closely with you at every stage of this full funnel transition, from planning to implementation to delivering the measurable outcomes in the privacy-first, cookieless world. As an extension of your marketing team, we will collaborate with you to build a culture of experimentation by creating a quarterly TLG plan to test the various feature implementation, especially PMAX, and apply the learnings for sustained account growth. As an extension of your marketing team, we will combine the dual power of NetElixir's proprietary customer analytics platform, Elixir Insights, along with Google's machine learning-driven modules like remarketing to identify new opportunities, new high-value customer sets that can really help you profitably grow your revenues and gain market share. As an extension of your marketing team, our creative services team, both design and content, will work hand in hand with you to ensure your ad library is up to date and ready for RSAs. As an extension of your marketing team, your account team will help you set the right measurement practices through extensive use of GA4 and deriving actionable insights that powers your business forward. So those are our commitments from Team NetElixir to all of our customers who work with us or who sort of trust us to manage their digital marketing program. But we are not really stopping there. We are taking it to the next level. And rather than sort of me announcing that, I'm very, very pleased and excited to invite our content marketing manager, Rachel, to really take you through this announcement.
Thank you so much, Eugene. We are so excited to announce the launch of our new webpage, the Cookieless Corner. This page is a library of resources that we've been building to help marketers navigate the challenges of third-party deprecation. We're really passionate about helping our clients leverage this change as an opportunity, more so than a challenge. And we just wanted to share our research and insights with the rest of the world. So we encourage you to visit the page. I think Senna just dropped it in the chat, and join in the Cookieless Corner community. You can subscribe to our newsletter, rewatch this webinar, or even ask our experts a question about how the change to first-party cookies will affect your brand. Our biggest hope is that we are a resource to you in navigating these uncertain times. So thank you all so much, and I'll send it back to Senna for our closing remarks.
Thank you so much, Elaine, and thank you so much, Rachel. I know a lot of you are already checked out, ready for the long weekend, and thank you, Elaine. You had so much information. I did want to ask one question before everybody signs off. So this question did come in, and it's what will happen if I don't migrate my smart shopping campaigns into Performance Max?
I believe so. I had a conversation with the Performance Max product manager as well as the shopping product manager as well. Google will automatically sort of transition it to Performance Max. And I believe the timeline, though they wouldn't really explicitly mention any specific month, Sana, I think the timeline was around October 2022, when all smart shopping campaigns would automatically rolled in. If your team has still not really migrated you onto Performance Max, it will automatically be done by Google.
Awesome, thank you. One more question. With the introduction of My Ad Center, and now that consumers are able to choose which ads they see less of, would you expect greater CPC inflation than what has already occurred?
I think that's a great point, and that's definitely a possibility, Sana. So if you really look at it by essentially entirely depending on the user consent, do I want to see your ads or do I don't want to see your ads? There are two ways of looking at it. One is it really puts a lot more emphasis on the individual marketer or the business to really tell a story which is authentic enough or exciting enough that really makes the user or the buyer or the searcher essentially really allow their ads essentially. So they are willing to sort of see their ads because you are really giving them content which they find it to be inspiring and exciting. So that's one. It really would elevate the level of overall creative engagement, and the creative quality would sort of go up, I think, dramatically as well. And the second part is, I think the CPCs would go up primarily because of what I call it almost like an interim confusion, for a lack of a better word, because you can't really barge into someone's preference, right? And unfortunately, advertisers would try to do that by really bidding high. So because with the hope that you'll be able to barge in someone's My Ad Center and really barge into a preference. So it would lead to some amount of CPC inflation in certain cases because you have really less overall inventory or audiences that you are competing with. And as long as your ROI completely doesn't go off the whack, it probably will sort of increase it. But I would really use this question or use this opportunity. It's a very important one, Sana, that you have asked, to really do a call out to all of the advertisers on this call. And that call out essentially that I have for all of you is it the time for you to really, really step up or ramp up your entire creative game? The way you write the content or create content, the way you sort of create your design, I think this is an opportunity for you to think of advertising a lot more responsibly and creating stronger, valuable engagement bonds with your customer base.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Elaine. I wanted to mention that we will send you the recording of this webinar and a summary checklist, so please look out for that tomorrow. Thank you again for joining us, and I hope you all have an amazing holiday weekend.